Hi everyone, this is Nicole and thanks so much for joining me today. It is a very quiet Saturday morning in my house and I thought I would just sit down, hit record, and show you the process of a new project that I am thinking of in the back of my mind. And I thought that I would start maybe kind of like a mini series or something else here on the channel just to show how I do what I'm going to do. And that project is going to be a like junk journal slash art journal, but we're gonna do a homemade journal. To do art journaling and junk journaling, you don't have to get and buy the fancy books. You don't need to go to Michael's or Joann's and spend $10, $15, $20 on a book. Yes, they're specialty. Yes, their covers are nice. They might have a binding or a closure on it, and the pages might be a little bit thicker. But sometimes that's not in everyone's budget, or sometimes that's not what we're looking for. I personally am going for more of a homemade approach as opposed to a store-bought approach, if that makes sense. I'm having a very hard time explaining it, but what I've done is I was at the Dollar Tree the other day and I was just browsing through the school supplies. With the back to school, they have so much out, so I was looking through there. But on the other side of that aisle is where they keep all of like their books, their crossword puzzles, the kids' workbooks and such. And I came across this book, and as soon as I saw it, it kind of caught my eye, just by the title of it, which is The Art of Tile, Designing with Time-Honored and New Tiles. I thought, okay. But the pattern is what really caught my eye on this. I thought, wow, maybe that would be a good opportunity. When I picked it up, this is probably the best value for $1 that I've found in quite a while. When I first started thinking about doing this, my intent was, okay, 1, find a hardcover book. 2, find it with the binding that I want, and 3, stitch signatures. And this book literally has all 3. So, number 1, this is a very thick hardbound book. It does have a loose cover on it. I intend on taking this off. And y'all, look at even just this book cover. I was so excited. I think I squealed in Dollar Tree. So, I'm going to find a way to cover the title of this or leave the art of and add to it. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. And then eventually I'll cover up the spine, but I think I'm going to leave it as is and just maybe modify it a bit. If you use your art journals as a way to document your memories, you also have the option where you can measure these squares out and just add photos, family photos in there, and then maybe like Mod Podge over the cover, and it's done. But anyways, not only is this cover a great option, but if you look at the binding, this is loose. And I don't know the technical words for this. Let me preface this by saying I am no expert whatsoever in bookbinding. None. But what I do know is that I was looking for this to not be attached. That's a good indication of stitch signatures, and it's also a way that I can take, and if I want to add a charm, I can attach it between here and then just let my charms hang out over the edge. I'm not sure if that's something I'm going to do, but that option is there. But what it also does mean is for this book in particular is these signatures that are in this book are stitched. And let me try to find the middle of a signature to show you. Here's one right here. So in this binding now, this is the middle of a signature and it is stitched. So what that means is I can tear this page out and this one will slide right out from underneath it. So if I would flip back a page, you can see this is one whole page. And that is what I was looking for, because what I essentially am going to do is take the time, flip through some of these, see where each signature starts and ends, and then start tearing out those that I may not want to leave behind. But something like this, I probably will mindfully try to purposely leave it. That way, whenever I gesso this page, maybe I'll go heavy on the white gesso up here, add my detail, leave this exposed, because it's already something that's adding to the page, which I really thought was cool. Just with this book, there's a lot of pattern to it. There's a lot of color. I mean, like, seriously, how cool is that? It's not, they do give some other things like types of stones. They go into colors, metals, patterns, designs. But some of this is gonna come out for sure. Pages like this, what I probably will do is pull some of my bigger stamps out, maybe stamp over it, or even draw over it with a Sharpie marker for that matter. Maybe just plop in some acrylic paint and maybe stamp, paint, draw, whatever on the text portions. I currently have a very old dictionary that I do that with, but that might be a great option. And then in the back here, there's pages like this where, how cool would it be used like punches, like a flower punch? If you have like a 2 or 3 tiered flower puncher die, you know, you can do one layer here, one layer here, one layer here, stack them, and it would give a really cool pattern. Then you can use something like this for the leaves. So there's a lot of great options and a lot of versatility. And this book was $1. Look at all this pattern in here to add to this. So I didn't even know there was a nautical section. That's pretty neat. I really haven't looked at this a whole lot yet, but my intent is to put this video on fast forward, and I'm going to go through this book, break it down by signatures, and that signature is the grouping of pages that is stitched together. So, for example, if you see in the middle here of the binding, you can see a group of pages that are essentially folded in half. Right here's one. So this is a signature within this book, and then in the middle of this signature is where that stitching is. So if I tear this page is going to come out with it. Or if I tear this page is going to come out with it. So I'm going to be mindful of what I'm going to tear. I'm going to go through and pull out a lot of pages. And when I say a lot, I'm probably going to do half. I'm probably going to pull out about 1/3 to 1/2 of these pages in this book. And I'm not going to get rid of them. I'm going to actually keep them and use them for either art journal pages in this book or art journal pages in another book, and so on. And then with the pages that are left, I'm going to use those as foundation pages to create the projects in my journal. Part of the reason why I'm taking out so many pages in my book is because I want to add other things in my book. I have been, these are just a few things that I have been picking up, some things at my thrift store, which is where I actually set out to find a book to begin with, to try to repurpose something that someone didn't want anymore, but I couldn't find anything with the stitched signatures in it. So that's why I was pretty excited to find this at the Dollar Tree, because geez, bees for $1, I'll definitely get my use out of it. But at our thrift store, they always have this section up front of free stuff, and these are just some things that I picked up in that free section. Usually there's some older magazines in it, but this time around I found a Farm and Ranch Living and Birds and Blooms in it, which I thought was cool because in these there's butterflies, there's plants, There will be birds in here, so there's a lot of nature things, but that would be fun. And then this one had a lot of landscapes in it, some scenery. There's some older cars. I thought that would be really cute since the whole red truck thing was in. But yeah, there's some pretty awesome things in here too. And my kids are very, very John Deere country boys. So I'm not sure if I'm just going to do art journal spreads in it or if I'm actually going to take and incorporate family photos in it. So I'm not too sure. I'm not sure why I grabbed these two Good Housekeeping ones, but I'm sure I'll find something in here. Because even with things like this, with titles of articles, you can cut those down and create quotes, word phrases, and things like that. So, all right, so not only did I grab a couple of magazines, but I also found this at a yard sale, which I thought was a super steal because it was only 50 cents. Golden Book. This I thought I was going to do the journal with until I realized that, okay, yes, it did have this attached or detached, but the signatures are glued in. They're not sewn in, so you really can't tear them out neatly. But I just loved this book, and I loved the illustrations in it. Some of them are monochromatic, like these. Others are not, but like that one there. But these I thought would be a great addition to either attach as separate inserts in my journal or some other things. So same thing too with the text here. You can even draw, paint, watercolor. You can clear gesso over top of this and then do some watercolor on top of it. So I grabbed this book for 50 cents to maybe include in some inserts of my own. And then eventually I have been saving some like glassine envelopes and envelopes from different paper collections that I'll probably incorporate into. So enough of the rambling and the jibber jabber. I'm going to fast forward and probably on super speed because it is going to take me a while to pull this apart. So if you want to see what this looks like in the end before I start my journaling in it and how much I really do pull out, stay tuned to the end. Okay, so I've gone through once, and you can see that I have pulled out a good chunk of pages. However, I know that with my style and the fact that how I like to add a lot of dimension and bulk, that what I've pulled isn't going to be enough. So I'm going to go back through one more time. Probably spend a lot of it in this front section, because if you look at the signatures, you can see that as I went on, I pulled more out, but I didn't in the beginning. So I'm going to go back through like right here at this break. This part is okay, maybe. This part I'm going to go back through and pull some more out. Even still, I think that it might not be enough. I'm not sure as I begin to journal and see how things go, because I don't plan on starting in the beginning and finishing in the end. I plan on jumping around, so maybe as I go I'll pull more out. But you can see that I did pull a lot out based on just how thick the binding was versus how the opening is. I was struggling a little bit with some of the pages because it looked for this book that there were full pages, so that would be, this would be a full page. It looked as though that there were 3 of these in a stitched binding, and then there were 2 sets glued together. So there was 3 that I could technically pull out, and then the next 2 were glued together, and you can pull them out, but it doesn't come out as clean, so I chose to leave those ones there for now. So it took me a little bit to catch on to the pattern. Like I said previously, I am not a professional bookbinder. I don't know if that's typical of a book. This is the first book that I have ever gutted of this size. Other ones have been smaller for me and haven't been that much trouble. But I do plan on going back through and pulling more out. As far as the pages go, this is the amount of pages that I did pull out. When I got to the back of this book, I started to fall in love with all of these different pieces, and there was a section on different colors of tile, and I started pulling pieces out based on what the patterns and colors were, because just ideas of art journaling pages were coming to mind. So some of them I were a little bit more mindful of pulling out, other ones were a lot more willy-nilly. But there is a lot of fantastic pattern in this. So if this is something that you think that you might enjoy, definitely keep your eye out at your Dollar Tree for this book. In fact, I might try to hit up another Dollar Tree to see maybe if I can't find another one of these. Again, the patterns and the colors in here are just really pretty. So this is the pages that I have torn out so far. I do plan on keeping these to use in other art journal pages. I'll probably just keep them in with this original book cover to hang on to it, so I know what book it came from. I did forget to mention when I first showed this book, it looks like that whoever had this was trying to promo price it at $6.97, but when I was taking this apart, the original price of this book was $40. That's crazy. And here's ISBN. So, but yeah, that's crazy. $40 for that book, which I'm sure, in my opinion, is well worth it. But I'm going to go back in, start at the beginning, be a little bit more mindful of what I'm pulling out, put you back on fast forward, and try to pull out some more pages in the beginning half of this book. Okay, so everything is gutted. This is about what it's going to look like. I worked on the pulling part of this yesterday. So today is a new day, and once I went through and pulled everything apart, I thought I would actually go ahead and give it a try. And give you a little bit of my first impression on it too. So in the end, I counted, there were 175 pages originally in this book. I only left behind 58, so I did pull more than half of the pages out in this book, actually almost 2/3 of it. So I pulled out a lot more than what I thought, and it's because I know I'm a heavy embellisher when it comes to doing layouts and projects. And looking at this binding right now just shows you why why I did what I did. This is the first layout that I did with it. I really liked how this worked out. I did 3 different things I tested. First, I did this page, which was using some of the Dina Wakley, her composition notebook with her drawings and such in it. So I pulled that out. I did have to double gesso the page because they're a glossier page. So it did take a little bit extra time prepping the page, but acrylic paints moved beautifully over it. They are nice and smooth to do some writing on it. My multimedia mat that I used to glue on it worked perfectly. I shade with Faber-Castell bold markers, the artist pens. They worked great. So I have no complaints whatsoever on that, other than the fact that it takes a little bit extra gesso and maybe another layer. Along with this one, I made a pocket out of it. So I attached this page to the page behind it, and then whenever I taped it, I did a line on both sides, and then I did another one about down the middle to create this pocket, which I cut a tag out of her composition book and used that, added a tab punch to the end here as another piece of an insert. So those work really well. The pages are sticking together nicely, and it's holding very good. I use this double-sided adhesive. This thinner is from the Dollar Tree also. I have some thicker 1-inch that I picked up from Amazon, and you get 3 rolls of it for like $6 or $7. It works good so far on these 2. And the third piece that I tried was taking and adding in my own insert. So this was another page yet out of that same composition book. I taped it in using some washi. And then basically just tape this insert in between the 2. Now this, I did add this in before I glued her image down. So this is actually over a piece of the washi. So when I do this page, it'll cover this piece too. So that'll help hold it in there. But yeah, I mean, the washi is holding to it great too so far. So we'll see as I go, but so far, first impression, my only complaint is the extra gesso, which I kind of knew was coming anyways, just because the pages are of that glossy nature. So I think what I'm going to do is add this journal as a part of my upload schedule, which I'm trying to get maybe at least 2 videos uploaded a week, and add this into the rotation of my scrapbook layouts in my project life. I will probably post more though over on Instagram, so if you don't follow me on Instagram, I'll leave that link down below. It's at Colby's1981. I usually post over there every other day, so you'll get more feedback from me there. But yeah, I'm happy so far. Loving doing this, and if you're in the market for something like this, hit up a Dollar Tree before you spend on that money in an actual journal. And I'm really happy with this so far. So if you do something like this and you do post on social media, tag me. I would love to see what you're creating, and I'll see you next time.